Hello, hi everyone. Welcome back to Woo Can Cook. My name is Wesley, and this is a show where we are slowly cooking our way through all of the food from my childhood. Today we're diving back into our series dedicated to reproducing foods from our 8-day trip traveling through Taipei, Taiwan, with a dive into the wonderful, weird, and wildly confusing world of burgers that I came across in my travels. Now, I'd like to stop right here and clarify because I am well aware that the sandwich pictured in the thumbnail of this video is not in fact a burger at all, but a fried chicken sandwich. More specifically, it's an orange chicken sando found at a popular burger chain found in and around Taiwan and Japan known as Mosburger. As we'll discover in a moment, however, during our travels through Taipei, we discovered that in Taiwan, literally any sandwich served inside of a burger bun is considered a burger, which I personally find comical and amusing. So, in any case, those following along with this channel may recall that we already did a few different variations on orange chicken a few months back, inspired by the original orange chicken found at Panda Express, meaning that today we will of course be drawing a good amount of inspiration from those recipes. To round this all off, finally, we'll also be taking a closer look at deep frying methods, more specifically those related to wet batters like our tempura batter today, and how these will need to be adjusted when frying whole chicken thighs as opposed to chicken wings or popcorn chicken because of the high presence of moisture. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay, so diving right in, we're kicking things off here first with some fresh aromatics to add to our glaze today. This is going to be 4 cloves of crushed and minced garlic to start, followed by 1 inch or about 1 tablespoon of fine minced ginger set aside for our wok fry later on. Then next, as you might expect, is the one and only other vegetable in our meal today. We are, after all, making a chicken sando. This is about 1/4 head of cabbage that I'm slicing up thinly, which we'll be using as the garnish in our sando later on. For this reason, I'm mainly looking for a super thin, fine shred to our cabbage, which means that I'll want to avoid the thicker and more rigid core portion here as much as possible. This bit is great in a stir fry since the fry will tenderize the core, but for our purposes today, omitting it will yield for us a much finer shredded cabbage, like so. Moving on to our tempura batter next, I've got my largest mixing bowl out, then I'm starting with a single whisked egg, combined with 1/4 cup each of soda water, cornstarch, and AP flour for a bit of gluten. I'm mixing this until a loose batter forms, then adding in my chicken thighs next and giving a quick toss until thoroughly coated. Next up, we're diving into our glaze next, which, as I mentioned earlier, is going to look fairly similar to our Panda Express orange chicken glaze, which is to say, we're going to be dialing back the sugars in it a good bit and instead pushing more savory umami and brightness. So, this is 4 tablespoons or 1/4 cup of soy sauce here to start, followed by an equal amount of rice vinegar for brightness. Then next, this is a single tablespoon of sesame oil and just 2 tablespoons of white sugar going in for our sweetness. I think it is also worth pointing out that of the many glazed chicken dishes that we have done on this channel, and we have made a lot of them, orange chicken may be the one and only dish in this genre that specifically does not contain honey for its glaze, yielding a slightly less sticky and tacky quality as a result. Finally, rounding this out is 2 tablespoons of some house-made chili oil for our umami. Of course, lao gan ma works just fine too if you don't have the Woo Can Cook stuff. And last but not least, this is the juice of 1 large orange, which ended up being roughly 1/2 cup in total. Personally, I think the flavor of this glaze will radically change depending on the flavor of your orange, so taste your juice and adjust accordingly. Ours today is a little bit sweeter and less acidic, which is why we're leaning harder into the rice vinegars today. Over on the stove, I have my fryer going at 350 degrees F, then I'm adding in my chicken thighs just 2 pieces at a time before removing to a dry rack, resting for 5 minutes, reheating the fryer and repeating for a second and final fry. Now, because we are frying whole chicken thigh today, as you might imagine, there's going to be a lot more moisture to contend with, which is essentially making our double fry today an absolute necessity. Without it, you would almost certainly end up with a soggy fried chicken. So be patient, work in batches, and be certain that your fryer has properly reheated before moving on to your second fry, because nobody likes a soggy fried chicken. Moving on to my glaze next, back over on the stove, I've emptied out my fryer oil, reheated the wok as hot as possible, then I'm adding just 2 tablespoons of peanut oil and, as always, longing out for that nice non-stick surface. Then here's my aromatic garlic and ginger going in for 15 seconds until nice and fragrant, followed by our glaze plus about a 1/4 cup of water. I like to add just enough water to rinse out the sides of the bowl here and get any residuals left behind. I'm dropping my heat to a medium-low and reducing this glaze for about 5 minutes until nice and thickened, then we're killing the heat entirely, adding in our fried chicken and giving a quick toss to combine. As always with any glaze, we're working quickly at this point because the moisture in the glaze is an absolute enemy of any crispy fried chicken, so the least amount of time spent in the wok here, the better. Back over on the cutting board, I'm slicing some nice wedges for our garnish to start, then adding some Kewpie mayo to a brioche bun, followed by a bed of our shredded cabbage, our glazed chicken thigh, and some fresh orange zest to finish, and we're ready to eat. Okay, so the first thing that I'll acknowledge here is that this sando, or burger, I don't know, looks deceptively simple to make, but don't let this fool you because whole chicken thighs are absolutely very tricky to fry and even trickier to glaze properly. The high presence of moisture in chicken thigh in general already makes it fairly difficult to achieve a crispy fry because the fryer is working so hard to burn off moisture. Without an actual deep fryer, I found myself doing a lot of frying and then waiting for the fryer to reheat in order to make sure that we weren't cooking on an underheated fryer. To add to this, there's also the glaze element that further complicates things because as soon as the chicken hits the glaze, we're working extra hard to make sure that the glaze doesn't sog out our crisped fried chicken. This makes it even more essential that you ensure that your glaze is fully reduced before you add the chicken, or else you'll end up boiling the chicken in the wok. So, all this said, if you can nail all of these fundamentals, then this is absolutely an excellent chicken sando that's worthy of the effort that it takes to set up and break down the fryer. Our glaze is the perfect balance of sweet and savory with just enough of those sugars dialed back so that more of the savory citrus and umami can come through instead of a simple sugar chicken. So, burger, sando, sandwich, whatever you want to call it, hope you give this one a try. Okay, so that's it everyone. I hope you enjoyed this and I hope you give this one a shot. For those who missed it, this video is part of a larger series dedicated to reproducing foods that I came across during our time traveling through Taiwan, so definitely check out that 2-part series next if you haven't yet too. For the Bay Area locals, come find the Wu Can Cook fried rice pop-up at the West Oakland Farmers Market every Sunday, literally in front of the food hall where we'll be opening our very first brick and mortar later this year. As always, like, comment, subscribe, share, be nice interneters, and I'll see you soon. Bye.